evening, good, whatever it is.
Well, let's go. We'll go Aussie. Good day. You know, because
Are we even on owing each other coffees now, Garnet?
Yeah.
you know, all right. So this is what this is about. Okay.
Yeah.
Boy, it's like the Chinese. You plan long.
Yeah. We're playing the long game.
Gotta play the long game here, man.
Yeah.
You know, I love any excuse to have a show, but like I'll tell you, 8 a.m. our time, I'm kind of like, ooh, this is different.
Well, okay. Guess what? I'm a morning guy. You know, after 3 p.m. and Yin rising and Garnet not rising. So
Garnet not rising.
Yeah. Here we are. Opposite sides of the planet, almost exactly, give or take. And I've been honestly excited, looking forward to the chance to spend time with the two of you and talk about the things that interest us. So thank you very much.
Oh man, I'm so sorry.
Man, yeah. Anytime I get to talk to you, man, we're super excited.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually had somebody from out of town over last night who is aware of Neurovisor and has played with the first one, and he got to play with the Rouge last night for the first time, and like his mind like melted, and I'm like, he goes, when are you going to have this guy back on the show? I'm like, funny enough, your timing. It's like really like he's
about 10 hours.
About 10 hours from now, he'll be on the show.
If Linux will permit it. Yeah. Okay.
So he was very excited to play with it and very keen to hear this episode. So
okay. Well, you know,
little shout out to my friend Trey there, by the way.
Okay. Hey, buddy. Let's talk. But you know, I'm doing my very best. Well, to do, you know, best what? Try to be a good person, try to do good things. And with the Neurovisor, I'm really trying to develop a tool instead of a toy. And I'm only saying that because of the word play. I know you didn't mean it in any negative.
No,
But no, that's not. I'm not addressing that remark. It just reminds me of the fact that it's not difficult to make stuff happen, and whether it's purposeful or not, you know, it's a constant discovery mode. And you guys are explorers. You know, I'll say me too. And we're doing our best to do good things for people. And so here we are with the Neurovisor, and then it's been a few years, and all of a sudden, hey, what's this red thing? You know, Rouge. And why I'm excited to spend time with you, because you guys, I'm not, you know, buttering butts here, but you guys see things from a lot of different points of view. You're very serious in your profession, and you're very lighthearted in your experience, irreverent health. I mean, there you go. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to keep my mouth shut a little bit.
I feel like are you our guest today? Or are we your guest?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter anymore, does it?
I forgot.
Yeah.
Oh, how rude of me.
No, not even a little bit.
And this is exactly what Matt and I intend, is like just have it be a conversation where we're all hanging out.
Okay, well then, grab the steering wheel. One of you.
No.
Get it rolling.
Jesus, take the wheel.
So listen, I will tell you, I've been dying to ask you one question, and this will kind of get maybe too fast into it. So if we need to put on the button,
no.
But listen, I've had, I don't know, I mean, every day since it came, so probably, I don't know, 30 sessions on this thing, give or take, I don't know, but I've only had it for a couple weeks.
Wow. Yeah.
And I gotta say, to say that it is different would sort of be like, to me, it's almost like a different thing altogether in all the right ways, right? Like I was telling Tom, I said, I don't know if it's possible that they added gradients between each step on a hypothetical scale of, you know, blinkingness of the original. But there is such a texture to this that's different and hard to put a finger on.
Mhm.
The people who have never used it, I actually took it to a friend's house at a graduation party, and a couple people passed it around, and we, were playing with it. And everybody was like, "This thing is amazing. How do I get one right now?" And I was like, "I'm telling you, this thing is super cool." And I just want to know, like, am I imagining shit? Because I have a lot of experience with both of them, and this one just feels a lot more high fidelity, like a higher resolution almost.
No, you're totally mistaken.
Okay.
No,
All right.
yeah, no, you're not. I'm screwing with you. You know that.
Yeah.
That's a good lead, Tom. You get to swing the bat next, and
No,
then
and I think to piggyback off of Matt's experience, right? So when we got the first Neurovisor, I think I got mine first, and I did the 7-minute demo,
Mhm.
and I immediately said something to Matt like, "What the fuck was that?"
Yeah.
And I think within that, Matt had ordered one, and then Matt got his, and then immediately he told somebody, and they ordered one. And I think I even asked you how much better is the red one, right? Like I think I physically, or not physically, verbally asked you that, and then I immediately ordered it because you had me hooked. I mean, I'd been using the regular one for months daily.
Yeah.
And the first session I did in the Rogue
Rouge.
Rouge,
Because,
Cholet Rouge.
Moulin Rouge. Get all country.
You're the only one that knows French here, man. We're
Yeah, yeah.
just stupid American public school educated.
Okay, they call it Rogue.
The Rogue.
Rogue One.
I think the Rogue fits our brand better. But within that, I think Human Touch in the specific red section. And I went, I don't know if I'm just that susceptible, but the physical sensation, the relaxation, right? You know, my mind, after doing years and years of meditation and then using the Neurovisor, and I know we've talked about Muse with it, but doing the Muse with that one, my peak alpha went through the roof, and it wasn't even aimed at peak alpha.
That's right.
And the amazing thing was this physical sensation, like actually feeling your chest drop, actually feeling like you can breathe deeper into your belly, without being forced was so impressive to me that now, and Matt was like, "Hey, yeah, so my playlist," and I was like, "Oh shit, that's right, it's got a playlist function." So I opened with
that's my jam, man.
Yeah, I open with one of the reds, and then depending on how I'm feeling, I either go into one of the 20-minute meditations, or I stack a relaxation one and a focus one, and I'm heavy into the spirituality ones. So having those playlists and opening with the red has really been a freaking game changer.
Okay, well, we can just stop now, and
that's the commercial.
There you go.
So, but okay, I the art and science of consciousness is stage front for me, and I think you guys too.
Yeah.
And
yeah, definitely.
I mean, this is like a big old topic. This is a big old topic that there is so much happening in neuroscience in the past 10, 15 years. So much is going on. And to be able to capture this novel, exciting, break open neuroscience is quite a challenge. It's quite a challenge. And it's easy to take a ride on what we know, good or bad. But then to go with what's happening, to take the risk, to get in front, to me, that's the game. And that's what the Neurovisor is, my best effort to incorporate the newest, biggest, baddest, best neuroscience of the day, not throwing away the old, but not being afraid to utilize the new. So underneath all of this is fundamentally the premise and process of adult neuroplasticity. That's the thing. You know, the saying you can't teach an old dog new tricks is actually not completely true or false. It's not what we thought. So I did my best, and I'm still doing my best to capture what kind of signaling does it take to excite or trigger and then somewhat guide neuroplastic change. And that's buried in here. That's what I call brain engagement.
Is there a yardstick to measure that? Because I think I agree with Tom. I think the names of some of these programs tend to sort of be very influential on how I experience them. I think it'd be a very interesting experiment to just not know which one. I have somebody just give me one and say, how did you feel after that?
Sure.
Actually, now that I'm thinking about that, that feels like something I should do sooner rather than later.
I feel like I've listened to so many of the like the favorite ones I have, that the second you put it on, I'd be like, I know which one this is.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, and I also noticed that like things like focus tend to have certain patterns that tend to be prevalent versus relaxation ones.
So they're like, it's like, you know, I don't know, a musician, you know, naming a song or a new pet, naming the pet. There is enough predicate neurology to understand somewhat. It's overly simplified and dumbed down. All this magic frequency single thing, you know, it's very, very untrustworthy. But we do know that certain signal sets tend to arouse or relate to certain mental states. We know that much. So, I mean, look at the most common example, music. Why is it that as soon as you hear reggae, it's reggae? And as soon as you hear hip hop, it's hip hop. You know, there are only 4 chords in most of the rock songs. Like, why is it so recognizable? Well, yeah, maybe you listen to Marley and, you know, you have your favorites, but you don't have to know Pharoah Sanders or Coltrane to tune into a jazz saxophone. Like, that's jazz. That's jazz. So they're like, if I say, let's make a happy song or let's make a sad song, there's kind of like, but it's not words that, you know, that certain rhythms, certain chords, certain progressions arouse a certain psycho-emotional state. So that is being translated or transferred over into cognitive signal sets. You know, it's too simplistic to say, oh, 3 hertz is a deep delta, that's deep sleep. 10 hertz is mid alpha.
Right.
These are correlations. They're not direct causations, but we know enough. And maybe I have a little bit of talent along with the learning, but you know, how to find a groove that creates a probability state. So like, what's the probability state? So I was designing new sessions that, and we'll get more into the what's, I mean, I won't let you guys go without getting a little geeky on this stuff, because
I mean,
no, we're in, that's what we're in.
it's all gorgeous stuff, but that, like, human touch. Okay, you just start with that human touch, and right away, you know, what kind of mood framing, what kind of incense or perfume, sonic incense would work with that. So I go through and I lay in a base layer of mood framing, not compositional music. I don't want the music to take over, but kind of musical quality that is, I'll say, like sonic incense or perfume, that it just creates a disposition. Then I think, okay, what's going on in the sonic pulsing here that would be inclined towards that? And there's enough science, you know, there's like gorgeous research from the 1950s and 60s and 70s, you know, very deep research, what frequency creates what color and what tone and everything. It's a lot there. What they didn't have, that we have now, is they didn't have the technology. They didn't have the very early stuff. So human touch. So when I work it, I want a certain rhythmic quality because sound goes into the auditory complex, but sound with rhythm also begins to excite the motor cortex.
Okay.
So the mood framing can either be, flowing, singing bowl, ambient, which is more cognitive. It kind of brings you up more, like you kind of forget your body. But if you have mood framing that has some mezzo pulsing in it, but not like hard I want to dance, but
Okay.
you start to feel something like, breath cycles, heartbeat, you move into that realm. And then going into the light, and we'll talk more about, why red compared to broad spectrum, but that there is no certainty, but there is a crafting where you can create certain probability states. And depending on the person's disposition, their mood at the time, or how old or young, all these things set up reasonable probability outcomes. And it is both an art and a science. So it isn't pure placebo inference. The two meet. If we all go to a movie together to go see a comedy, we're kind of setting ourselves up to have a good time and laugh because we know it's a comedy. Well, that's just life. So I've been doing this particular exploration for 10 years now, from early prototypes and and I'll tell you, it just keeps on opening up. It just keeps on opening up. And I've been wanting to bring in the red stimulation for about 2 years because of certain appreciations that I have. I'll tell you very briefly a story. 50 years ago, Tom, you were just like taking your first pee or something at that time?
Technically, I was still gestating.
Well, okay. So there you go. So 50 years ago, I was awaiting the birth of my daughter, and it was a home birth that we were doing. A lot of blah, 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 blah. And I'll skip, all the whys, but the whys go back that far, at least for me. We had a very nice apartment. This is in TO in Toronto. And the home birth, so I rigged the bedroom with complete only red light. And my daughter, Kaya Rose, being born there, spent the first month always only in that room. If there was light, it was red light. And her mother would go in and out, of course, but so we kept it a kind of like a sanctuary, because the human we're born too soon. That most mammals, when they come out, they can kind of do their thing, and we're like hello, because as the theory goes, the human brain has developed faster evolutionarily than the birth canal, the pelvis of the human woman. So the baby has to come out about 30 to 40 days too soon. Otherwise, it can't make it through the birth canal. So the human baby, unlike most all mammals, can't do anything for the first 4 to 6 weeks. It can't lift its head. It's just there. So blah, blah, blah. Anyway, back then, for different reasons, I knew that was true. I'll sort of, this is a little bit of background of a big thing. It can be called poetically the womb, like uterus, the womb cinema. Now, we know at a certain stage, second trimester mostly and on, that the fetus can hear. And you talk to the baby, the music, this is relatively well known. Well, guess what? The inside of the womb, well, with daylight exposure, is not black. It's glowing red. The inside of the womb is red, light. And in the second trimester, the eyelids start to open and things, but open or closed, so that if you've ever been in a dark room, black, and you take a flashlight and you put it up against the palm of your hand, what do you see on the back of your hand?
Red.
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 Yeah, red, orange, red. So why? That's because that wavelength of light is able to penetrate into, and in some cases, right through tissue. So the baby, and this has been validated in animal studies. They haven't validated all the way to humans, but there's a lot of similarity that the developing fetus experiences sound and experiences light, but light only in the red spectrum. Red light, and I'm taking a risk here because it's a projection, but why does it feel warm, safe, and relaxing? It's because we developed into a domain of red light. So that's maybe like way out there, weird stuff, but it just happens to be true. What that means is an extrapolation, but I've known for the longest while that there is a subjective quality to red light that, I guess there is to every wavelength, but there's something deeply, innately comforting and relaxing, I think, because of a lot of the in the eyeball, the neurons that detect color are basically of three types: blue, green, red. Short wavelength, mid wavelength, long wavelength. And which cone develops the first in the human eye? The red cone. It's the very first one. Why should it be the first one? Why not blue? Well, because there's no blue in there, dude. There's no green in there.
Right.
It's red. So the red cones are the first to develop, which means the fetal eyeball has the ability to detect red light. So, the art and science, the science and the spirituality to me are, falsely separated. It's the same flow. So both I should say a little bit about the white light, just to sort of do that a little bit. It's full spectrum. So it's got, short blue, mid green, and, red. And, of course, it's on the float.
The whole Roy G. Biv.
Yeah.
But when you close the eyes, the human eyelid, depending on pigment and thickness and all this, but it blocks out. The most recent study that was reliable in 2023, just a couple of years ago, is that it blocks out 99.7% of all the blue light.
Just your eyelid.
Your eyelid. Just your eyelid. Plus, some of the lens and cornea and the vitreous fluid in the eyeball, but primarily the eyelid. So even though the white LED has got blue in it, the amount of blue that is actually entering the eyeball to encounter the blue wavelength cone is minuscule, less than 1% of the source light. And the green mid is also blocked at about 99.7% as well. The tricky thing is, of the three cones in the human, which of those three cones is the most sensitive is the green cone. Because when you open your eyes and look around, what's the color you associate with nature?
Yeah.
Green.
Okay. All right.
Even though theoretically the same amount of short blue, blue light, melatonin, I'm going to die, that whole thing, and the mid-range green, about the same amount, but because the green cone is hypersensitive, it gets a little bit more sizzle than the blue.
So how does that translate over to the Rouge? And I think I feel like the fidelity of color is also much better.
Okay, let me. This is where I'm driving the car right now.
Oh, okay, sorry. I didn't want to get ahead of you there. Yeah.
So turn off the GPS.
Got it.
Okay, so
I know where we're going.
So what about the white LED? The original neurovisor. Why do we use that? Well, because if the blue and the green make it through at technically 0.3%. The red, and it's not narrow red, it's spectral red, makes it through about 20 times greater than the other wavelengths.
Wow.
So it's coming through at 5 to 6%, where the blue and the green is making it through less than 1%. 0.3% is the institutional reference that's used now. So even the white LED, the predominant color getting in there is red. So like red has really been doing the heavy lifting all along anyway. But so why is there kind of a dynamic or dazzling quality to the white? Some people misinterpret it as that's too bright. I mean, partly you can change, but it's not that. It's the neural stimulation is more complex, more dynamic, more dazzling, that you've got some of the green cone going, oh, and then in the red cone, you've got a whole range from deep ruby red to kind of orangey yellow. So there's more complexity. It's a little bit more, this is like a dumb analogy, a little bit more like a shotgun. The red is more like a rifle. So,
got it.
So I'm going to jump from that. The first thing is to realize that, and I'm repeating this point because it's like, what? That the white light, the stuff that's getting through the eyelid is predominantly a range of red, with a little green and maybe a couple of like snowflakes of blue, but really inconsequential. Okay. In the most recent research in red, we know now that well, there's like this does this does this is 670 nanometers has a highly specific friendship with the eyeball.
Is there some kind of evolutionary reason for that, or do we even know? Or we just
now I'm wondering if we're all doing these red light therapy panels for other reasons, if 660 is not exactly where we should be, and we should be aiming more at the I guess it would be situational dependent.
It all depends. It's like, that red is a big wow. And the realization is that there is a range of red. The earliest one, 635, you only get to work with what technology can produce.
Yeah.
And technology doesn't want to produce a product that nobody uses. So like, why make it? Nobody wants it. So this is, I say sometimes there was no saxophone music before the saxophone instrument.
Right.
Makes sense.
Technology enables.
Sure.
So we've been seeing this, like, wow, what's going on with red? Everybody's hot on red. Oh, then there's the near infrared, 810 and 40, and now like 9 and 1064, 1074. We're in a discovery mode. And in the recent discovery, 670 nanometers, it's an LED, so it's a curve. It's not,
one beam of it, yeah.
Yeah, so, but that it has a luxurious subjective response from most people. Like I don't like, the different shades of red. Like tomato red has got a lot of yellow in it. Maroon has got so much blue in it. Is it really red or not? This 670 is right in some kind of groove that is like, oh yeah, like that's red, baby. Like it's like a luscious red. And in the eyeball, because the eyeball, if I understand correctly, the neuroscience has got the densest concentration of mitochondria of any organ or tissue in the body. Well, 30% of our brain is devoted to vision. So there's a whole lot happening with this look around vision thing. So guess what? This 670 nanometer is the cheesecake of these mitochondria. They love it. They just eat it up. The ATP production just goes kaboom. And then you get, especially in the aging eye, meaning anybody past 40, that
Mm.
there is a cellular rejuvenation that can happen. There, there's some pretty good studies, early studies out there. Just 3 minutes of exposure to red light, especially in an aging eye, improves color acuity for 1 week. 3 minutes, 1 week.
3 minutes for one whole week.
Yeah, that's right.
What's the UK study? I mean, that UK study that I'm remembering, I think that was got to be pressing 10 years now
Yeah.
about macular degeneration in people.
Well, this is like, we can't go medical. We have a strong.
No, I just, people have been looking down this rabbit hole was my point.
Yes, but that's absolutely true. That it shows protective, if not regenerative, but for MD, macular degeneration. So
Yeah.
now, again, for me, because I've been a red light guy for a long, long time. More than 25 years, almost 30. I have a patent in red light combined with this Russian tech, and it was 23 years ago that I opened my Bangkok spa, because I was in the spa business in LA before. 23 years ago, and I brought in several red light devices and pads from Healthlight at the time, and I integrated it into the spa services because I was so convinced by research and outcome that it was really a good thing. So here we are. Why in the world bring red stimulation into the neurovisor? Okay, well, to your point earlier, Matt, this is shotgun rifle. This is a highly efficient messaging system into the optic nerve. It's hitting the red cone right in its soft belly. It's this whole cascade of neurological yummies happening, because once the light hits the cone, there's no more light. It is electrical impulses, electrochemical impulses going into the optic nerve to the visual cortex through this, the thalamic gate and all this stuff. So it stops being light as soon as it hits a receptor. So if it's hitting a receptor with a real clean, right hook, if it's coming in right in the soft spot of its sensitivity, the likelihood is that when that message gets to the visual cortex gets a real clean signal that has its own quality. I'm going to take another risk. And we have to be careful with analogies because they seem real, but they can be mistaken. The dynamism of the full spectrum is very attractive. How do I say it? It's kind of like a yang-ish for Tom. It's almost like a little bit more yang in its nature. And the 670 nanometer is a little bit more yin in its nature. And that quality, it's hard to nail down. Like, how do you really, what is yin and yang? What is, masculine, feminine? What is, light and shade? The whole thing that, because, like Tom, I have a background in Chinese medicine, that there's something there that is qualitatively distinct. We're not quite sure of the mechanisms, but we can say daytime is different than nighttime. The feeling of it, not just like the tick-tock clock of it, but the feeling of it. So I was convinced, and the team here, went with it, that there are some people that have a higher threshold of stimulation, and there are those that have a lower threshold of stimulation. And for some, more sensitives, for whatever reason that is, the white light, it can be a little bit too much of a ride. It's a little bit too much of a diamond, where the red stimulation is a little more soothing. It's more comfortable because they get triggered at a lower level of stimulation.
Is that archetype, that person who's sensitive? I mean, could that be modulated by simply turning down the intensity, or it's just
No, this is one of the not real good solutions.
Right. Okay.
Because if you agree with the I'll call it the original. We have the original
Mhm.
Neurovisor and the Rouge. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
The idea, oh, it's too much. It's easy to interpret to think that it's too bright, which isn't, which is one of the factors. But when you push down the intensity, it starts to blur and fuzz the tap, 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 tap of the signaling.
Ah, okay.
That's interesting.
It is the Morse code that is making all that stuff happening. It's the Morse code or the brain engagement signaling design that is creating the neuroplastic results. Then you've got the secondary, the delivery system of the Morse code. And the delivery system has a personality difference. Another stupid analogy, ice cream is 99% frozen milk and sugar. And then what's the last thing? Well, is it vanilla or is it chocolate?
Mm.
And for some reason, there's a big difference. Like, I don't like strawberry ice cream. Dude, it's 99% the same stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So right now, what's important to me is to understand that whether a person uses the original Neurovisor or the Rouge Neurovisor, the brain dynamics, the exercise process, the neuroplastic goal is still being achieved. It's just, what kind of car do you want to drive to get to where you're going? You're still going to get to where you're going. So, the Rouge can be a tremendous, like, rich relaxation, almost an intoxication with very low demand at a certain level of stimulation, where for others, we want more sizzle. We want a brighter dynamism. So they're in love with each other, just in the same way that I'll go back to the analogy. Yin and yang are not opposites. They're complementary fuel, one for the other.
Right.
And so it's a little, depending who we talk to, yin and yang means nothing or something or somewhere in between for a lot of people. If they say yin and yang, I say, don't say that, yin and yang, please, anyway. But this issue that there is temperament to signaling, like poetry. I'm making this up, well, a little bit, but a poem spoken in French and the same poem spoken in German doesn't roll with me the same way.
No.
Right.
It's the same words.
Right.
It's the same message. Why does one sound like that and the other one sound like that? Well, the delivery medium has influence. And right now, okay, I'm older than you guys. I've been for 10 years. I don't know how many thousand hours I've clocked with my eyes closed with light and sound, a whole bunch. And what I find as I get older, I mean, it's no big, I'm kind of proud, so I'm 76, and that's a very strange number to live with. I hope you get there. But anyway, what I find is, listen, I've never been a roller coaster guy. I'm not a party hardy guy. It doesn't take much to really give me a thrill. Maybe I'm an energy sensitive, call it what you want, meditation, all these things. But I quite like sitting back in the Rouge and sort of, instead of like kayaking through the current, I'm kind of like on a tube floating down the river. And it's a real beautiful, it's just a beautiful choice, Yeah.
You said by lowering it, it sort of dulls that a little bit, right? And that makes kind of sense to me. Is the converse also true? Is it almost like a hot microphone? If you turn it up, is it kind of also blurring it a little bit, but the opposite direction?
Well, yeah, because of the variability in the human being, enough is enough. When I use the Neurovisor, original or Rouge, I pretty much sit at 7 on the intensity. Like I'm okay. I'm right there.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with the Rouge, but not with the original. I think I'm at 5 or 6, and I
Well,
feel like they were fine for me. But
there you
and I felt like I wanted to pump up the Rouge a little bit just because it was so enveloping that I really wanted to kind of lean in on that.
Okay.
See, I feel like I cranked it on both of them. Maybe I'm
Did you?
brain dead. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
No, you just
Uh.
you're the guy that says I'll meet you there on the Harley. But
yeah, right, yeah.
okay, so but you see that this is we know enough neuroscience to have, at least from my view, defensible explorations of these things. There is a modest amount of certainty, but there's still a lot of discovery going on. And this process right now is, to the best of my knowledge, and I mean, to the best of my knowledge, nobody out there with flickering light, pulse, sound is working in this 5-stage neuroplastic dynamic, predictive brain coding, free energy principle, Friston, Bayesian inference. I don't see anybody doing it. What I see is a whole lot of old school brain entrainment, all sexed up with all kinds of claims that we also made in the 80s and also never came true. Or this other, because there are these two extremes. One is brain entrainment where light and sound are directly linked and repeat in a strong periodicity. That was discovered in the 100 years ago, minus 4 years. The early 1930s. There's the frequency following response. Oh, look at that. So then there's that thing, which is a simple neural reflex. There is still a lot of controversy about what everybody thinks is rock solid science about brain entrainment. There is a lot of oversimplification and turning the other way on it. But anyway, so there's this thing where just hit it, light and sound, same time, same way, repeat, keep going. The other extreme is, it doesn't matter. Just play any music that you want and any light that you want, and your brain will, God will know the difference. It's that thing from a long time, right? So, and these are signal messaging extremes. One is completely locked in, risking neural habituation and synaptic fatigue. And the other is, it doesn't matter, just do whatever you want and it's going to feel great. The science is in the middle now where it can be crafted. You understand the principle of criticality? Have you heard the word? I mean, you guys have been around. When we're young and the brain is developing, we're in a sustained critical period. Critical is when things change, right? When water becomes ice or ice becomes or steam, right? There's a phase, and at a critical point, it changes. So we're in a sustained critical period up until around 25 years old, but monstrously critical in the early years leading up to puberty. We're making so many new neurons that actually the brain is throwing away more than it can make. It's pruning all the time. So the big discovery of neuroplasticity is that the adult brain can be induced into temporary periods of criticality.
Does it stick around after the after?
No. The idea is the window opens for change. Change can happen, and because it's called you've learned something, then the criticality closes to seal the deal on the habit. So it's open the door. I'm going to change something. Okay, I've learned something. I made a change. Now I'm going to close the door. If that criticality opens up unimpeded, then horrible things happen. Schizophrenia and all sorts of things can happen. So knowing how to go knock, 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 who's there? Brain engagement who? And then, so there's actually a neurological methodology predictive brain coding is the closest brain model. Friston expands it into what he calls free energy principle. Carhart Harris in psychedelic recognizes the entropic brain. There are 3 or 4 of these novel new, along with old Hebbian learning from the 50s before neuroplasticity. To fire it, to wire it. Some Canadians said that in 1949. Hello.
Wow.
I didn't realize that was that old. Yeah, we've all.
Yeah, well, nobody, that it was called Hebbian learning because his name was Donald Hebb. So
Yeah,
nobody really bought into it.
I actually never knew that either. I've heard Hebbian learning. I've never.
So I almost feel like that lends itself to the neural fatigue that you were talking about, right? If I just keep hammering at the same thing, I think what you're saying is it's not just a muscle, right? We don't want to fatigue it to the point where you can't. Yeah.
Right. You know, I aim for the threshold of response. I don't aim for the maximum tolerance to the signal.
Right.
You know, I learned that with my famous line, which is true, by the way. I learned that with chocolate cake.
Mm.
You know that.
Yeah, you have. I have used your chocolate cake thing
Yeah.
several times since then. It's a quite a good
Yeah.
visual. So let me ask you something. Okay, so we opened this criticality window. That makes sense too. How does that affect things where you are already in a neuroplastic state? Let's just throw the word out there. Psychedelics, right, is the first one that comes to mind.
Sure.
If you're doing something that's already neuroexpansive, like does this sort of like muddy those waters? Does it augment them? Like I'm just
Are you
curious.
priming yourself for schizophrenia, I think, too.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, that too.
Like you know, I mean, it goes back all the way through. You know, I mean, almost mystical thought, but that it's a dose issue. It's a dose issue, and this is where, you know, speaking of the the 1940s and 50s, Hans Selye, the father of, you know, the general adaptive process and stress, he's the guy that took the concept of mechanical stress out of physics and coined the term and brought it into biology. In the same way that Carhart Harris is taking the term entropy and bringing it into neurology, Selye brought the term stress. Stress is just another word for stimulation. That's what it is. So he says, listen, we need stimulation. That's life. And he says there are basically circumstantially 2 kinds of stress. There's stress, not like you, Tom, but
Yeah.
like
EU. That one's English. I got that one.
Yeah,
it's the French that's getting me.
Okay, well, comes out of the Greek. We'll pass that on. So
what comes out of English on its own? Not much.
bad teeth. But
Very true. Try humor.
So stress, like euphoria, that is stimulation that is good for you. And then there's distress stimulation that is bad for you. And this brings in the issue, and this is right at the specific heart of the Neurovisor original or Rouge, is hormesis. What is hormesis? Hormesis is like with your needles. I mean, when you're sticking somebody, it's hormesis. Hormesis is a low dose stressor. And the dose is the issue of whether it's a eustress or a distress, but it is a stressor. And what do stressors do? They say, hey, pay attention. This is the thing about brain engagement. Well, neuroplasticity. I go all over the place, so hang with me if you don't mind. You know, Gregory Bateson and his information theory. Information is news of change. Information is a difference that makes a difference. In predictive brain coding and free energy, Friston, top of the heap, the brain builds on the past and predicts the future. It can't process all the stuff at the same time. So it has these heuristic shortcuts. And if something looks like it happened before, the brain says, I'm going to predict that this is going to happen, so I'm going to do this. If that's true, nothing changes. Nothing changes. But if my prediction proves to be false, technically a prediction error, then what happens is, something that should work doesn't work, I'm going to do one of two things. I'm going to ignore it or I'm going to change. So it's novelty, it's surprise, it's something happening that was not in the library of predictions. That is the fundamental initiation of brain engagement. We start off with, oh, I got this. I know what this is. This is what, and like slappity slap, what's going on here? The brain hates uncertainty. The brain is always seeking signal and noise. It's always trying to make sense out of nonsense. We would rather believe a lie than not know what's happening, even if it's true. That we're story makers. And
was that political?
I thought it was religious, but let's skip over
yeah, same.
Okay, so like, and see, this is the game that is both original and rouge. Is it comes in, it's like, oh, hello, and it's like, who in the hell are you? And that appetite for understanding, that appetite for recognition, that appetite is when I introduce the probability vector. If you're, you don't eat kale salad, I'll get you hungry enough that you'll even eat a kale salad. And guess what? It might even be good. Why? Because you're so hungry. There is a very distinct methodology. It has 5 stages and 10 phases. I can write the whole thing out. It's not me. It's just the damn neuroscience that has emerged to understand how the brain can keep learning new stuff. A brain that can change when change is required. That's a healthy brain. Most of the brain signaling stuff that happens descends down into safe habituation. And what a psychedelic, to go back to your point, Matt, what a psychedelic does is it drives up the entropy. It creates complexity in the brain signal variability. It requires that you leave what you know to explore what you can know that you don't know. You might discover something, the hero's journey. You return back into lower entropy, and now you've consolidated. It comes into your library. And so the brain, we've done the 20-story building analogy. I'm not going to suffer you through that again. But that idea that if the brain is a 20-story building, every floor does something.
Right.
There are no bad floors. The low floors are for habituation, repetition, stability, learning. The upper floors are for flexibility, exploration, discovery, new concepts. That's where the psychedelic takes you. That's also in a much less dramatic way. That's what a neurovisor session does. It starts here. It loosens up, the elevator goes up for a while, checks around, oh, I learned something, and then returns on back down again. And is this pulsing movement between stability and flexibility that keeps us alive and well.
And you know what is interesting about everything you're saying is, like, I've seen a couple other products. I don't want to get too far down this rabbit hole, but there's a lot of people doing things that feel similar or look similar.
Sure.
A friend of mine has one with like 4 little LEDs and an eye mask, and I tried it, and I'm like, I have a
Not the same.
vocabulary. Well, I have a different vocabulary, right? Like, and he had a different vocabulary. So when he went from nothing, 0 brain entrainment, to something that is much different than Neurovisor, he had a very positive shift because he'd never seen that language before. And now he's got this new vocabulary. Now, when he tried the original Neurovisor, I think he went out and got one the next day because he's like, I know this language, but I was speaking a caveman version of it. And now I'm speaking like a PhD in literature on this same language.
Yeah.
And he didn't have the words to articulate that, but I do, and that's exactly what happened with him, right? Like,
I'm 100% behind that, Matt. I had a very similar experience. I think even Garnet, I referenced it on the first time we met, that I tried this and then immediately texted you, and you said, "Oh, that's a little different than that product per se."
They right now, it's an instrument. A piano is an instrument, and I can't make music with it. Other people can. It's the same piano. So
Mhm.
to make something that fits in the head reasonably comfortable, there are a lot of design parameters I won't get into because that's a whole topic itself. But to close your eyes and have some light flicker. Now I know who you're talking about, what you're talking about. Everybody's good people. They're all doing good things. They have departed a little bit away from classic brain entrainment. That they have a little bit of surprise or destabilization. But knowing the model that they have, the signaling, it's like they don't do anything with it. They just go back into entrainment again. Entrain. Oh, what's that? Oh, wait a minute. Okay, let's just go back to entrainment again. So they are nibbling at neuroplastic dynamics. They're nibbling at brain engagement, but it is of the 5 stages and 10 phases, they've only accomplished the first 2. So, so it does.
So that's that caveman, PhD analogy. It's like, I mean, I'm
I'll
only
give
dealing.
it that. I'll give.
Well, no, I guess what I'm saying is I guessed right kind of thing in how I felt it was literally like, oh, almost like you just said, like, oh, here's 3 extra phases that you get to play with now that you didn't get to play with before.
Yeah. And so.
No, I guess
no, yeah.
Well, so I know that I just, and this is something that I struggle to explain to other people. So maybe you can shed some light on it, as it were.
You're such a card.
Yeah. But I just know that I want to use it. I don't necessarily know what I'm getting out of it. And I kind of hinted towards this earlier. It feels very difficult to put a yardstick to progress on this, if there is such a thing, or even to enunciate what progress should look like in this or could look like in this. So I'm just curious, if you're a daily user up 6 months, a year, 10 years, what could we sort of predict or explain in somebody who's using it for those periods of time? Like, is something happening?
Yeah. Yeah, something is happening. There's been massive positive discovery and application in fitness, sports medicine, athletics in the past 30 years. You can go back 50, but let's get, when you see Olympic training or high-level pro athletes, if you've seen, Steph Curry training or LeBron or the precision and identification of how to get the best things better is very impressive compared to no pain, no gain. You just grunt it out.
Yeah.
I mean, so let's we know here, but let's review the fact that we experience the soma quite directly, but we don't experience our brain directly. We experience it as our mind. But our brain is as physical as your heart, your spine, or your hamstring. It works with the same. It's not some alien organ that somehow fell out of the sky into our ear. It is the nervous system, in terms of evolution, as we well know, developed from the bottom up. So things that work for the soma, in principle, also work for the brain because they're not separate. Everything we do with the soma involves the brain. So what have we been learning about physical wellness and fitness and exercise and sports performance? What are those, not the actions, but what are the principles? Well, we know that, regular dose dependent, some heavy days, some easy days, some off days. We know that, modifying and adapting, not doing exactly the same thing every day, all the time. We know that we have benefit. Now, what are those benefits? Well, for one thing, you just feel better, you behave better, and you function better. And okay, maybe like a bathroom scale, how hard you can jump, but a person doing any kind of hormetic, meaning small dose, repeated use stressors into their physiology will be increasing their ability to adapt and change on demand. That's just the way the body works, and the brain is as much the body as any other organ. So I think that, like, you know, this idea of a, you know, adaptive response, that ability to go in and out accordingly. You know, the 20-story building, you know, the entropic, the higher states, that's what laughing your ass does. I think we talked about that in the past. Humor is incredibly psychedelic. It's a very extraordinary, non-ordinary state. And what's it based on? It's based on a benign violation of expectation. The joke
It's funny.
Sets you up. Benign meaning it's not supposed to be harmful, although there's a big debate in comedy these days with roasts and things. But benign violation of expectation. The setup takes you where you think you're going, and then there's the drop.
Yeah, they hard crank the wheel. Yeah.
And you know, and then boom, what happens? You skyrocket up in the 20-story building into this absurd, delightful, you know, crack in the cosmic egg moment. And there are a lot of folks that can't do that. They can't laugh even when something is funny. What's going on? That the brain is stuck. Unstick a stuck brain. You know, I've said in the past that the tendency in the face of threat is to retreat and protect. And PTSD, life in general, serial divorces, whatever you want to look at, but that, you know, the tendency, especially with advancing age, I see it, you know, my body is not the same, that there is this tendency when faced with adaptive demand to say, no, I'm not going up, you know, or I'm not doing this, or that's not funny. What is that thing? You know, it's a protect. It's like a Reichian, like Wilhelm Reich, Reichian body armoring, right? That is happening in the neurology of the brain, which of course expresses somatically. So this, you know, here's a laugh. You know, Tom, I spent a lot of years over a treatment table, and at around kidney level, T12, L1, a little bit L2. There's some, you know, degeneration because of the posturing.
That posture, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, that's a real, you know, oh, not me. Guess what? Yes, you. But anyway, and so it's been stiff, like cranky. So, okay, I'm gonna, you know, I should bend over backwards a little bit because I don't. Why? Because it's like So I went out and got one of these, like, you know, the big exercise balls, but the half ones that don't roll around. It's like a big
yeah.
So,
like a dome kind of thing. Yeah.
The dome thing. Like I call it the dumb at this point. But yeah, so I thought, well, this is going to be cool. It's not rich, it's kind of soft, like cool. And I was laying on the back of it, and all of a sudden I couldn't breathe, I couldn't move. I think I shifted, you know, a little bit on a disc, and the brain can be like that. That, you know, that for a long period of time, it's not been asked to respond dynamically to some stimulation. And the brain, I mean, this is a rough analogy, it gets stiffer and stiffer and stiffer. And then comes a time when it has to do that. It has to bend over backwards, and it can't. And it's like, boom, and you get panic attacks, or you get whatever it is. It's like, wow. And the brain says, you've never asked me to do that for 30 years. And all of a sudden you want me to do it, and I've not done it. Come on, give me a break. Let me lick my wounds. So, you know, this ability to keep growing and learning, which is like, sounds more psychological, actually has a neurological foundation.
And you know, it's funny you telling me this now so many things are making more sense. Like since I've been using Neurovisor regularly, which has been, next month will be a year.
Okay. Your video is frozen, buddy, just to let you know.
Okay.
He's moving on my end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so, you're back. Sorry.
So no. So for about a year, 11 months now. I've been using it more or less daily. And I will tell you, there has been a marked difference in my reactiveness to edge case scenarios, like, financial distress, personal distress, like something that's sitting at the fringes of the range of emotions.
Yeah.
Those seem to be a lot more, it's almost like I pulled the edges in a little bit, if that makes sense. Like it's not, I don't have sort of these flanks all the way out in Siberia on either side, where when I get to there, I feel like I'm in the middle of a wasteland. I kind of feel like I've shifted and I'm a little bit more stressed out, or I'm a little dopier and happier, but I'm not like so manic. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like that has been quiet and very subtle. But as you were explaining this, I'm like, shit, I'm wondering if that's kind of like what's happening here, because from an anthropological standpoint, if nothing else, adaptability is survivability in a broader sense. Right? Like, so,
I'm glad Matt said that, because I feel until he said that, like, I have so many fires right now that the wheels should be nowhere near the cart, and other than that, yeah, they're there, but I'm still here too. Like I haven't had my big mental breakdown, and that's unique.
Well, I sometimes, again, we use language, and I don't know, but that I sometimes imagine or think of the neurovisor process, which is not the neurovisor. It's just me doing my best to help the brain do what the brain does. So I can't own it, but that, like, the thing that happens is it's kind of tricking a person into the present moment, because that's what the neuroplastic process requires: attention. That, oh, I'm doing this, and it's like, hey, prediction error. What? And
Wow.
where does what take place? Not the past, not the future. The what takes place right here. And so, I mean, it's a little, romantic and mystical to say, because, the present moment, here and now, all of this thing. But, the here and now is a metaphor. There is no here, there is no now.
I think the internet uses presence a lot more than it should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know there are no words left anymore. But being open to change. I think when change is not a threat, but when change is just what happens, and the Buddhists call it like impermanence, that when it's like, okay, this what helps us stay in the saddle, hands on the steering wheel. I think that psychological quality is easier to arrive at when the brain is able to move around a little bit more freely in its territory, in its neurosignaling.
Yeah, it's actually quite interesting, because once you, like I said, now it's gotten to a point where I know these programs well enough to sort of do some pattern recognition on my own. And I'm like, oh, that feels like a focus pop, and that feels like more of a somatic pop. And this feels like you know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's interesting because it's almost like you've used the instrument analogy a couple times, but it's almost like you're like, oh, I know that passage. I knew the musician who kind of coined that and you're like, oh, I recognize that now. And again, I don't know if it's good or bad, but I feel like it's my brain saying like, oh, I know what's happening now. Like it's almost like new information that's become sort of like breathing now. Like I get, of course, not all of it, but as I do this more and more, I'm like, oh, you know what I could use right now? That thing. And I know where to find it. I know how to get to it. We were talking off air about the playlist piece. And I think one of the things that I've always, when I was a kid, I lived in California, and Jelly Belly Jelly Bean Factory was like real close to where I went to school. And that was where we would go field tripping and stuff. And Jelly Belly has one of the most interesting like things ever in candy world is they have menus, like recipe books, like, hey, you mix one of these and two of those and you get like a pina colada, right?
Yeah.
But you need that menu, that Rosetta Stone of like, okay, how many, of these plus how many of these equal this new thing. I feel like with the playlist, I've started to kind of do a Jelly Belly moment where I'm like, all right, I could use like a little bit of focus, a little dehabituator, a little bit of the, you know what I mean? Like, and I can kind of start to like play with it in a way that's highly personal. My playlist has exploded and to the point where it's almost not useful anymore because I've got so many of them. But like sometimes you're like, well, I want to be a focus day, and it's really these two today versus these other ones today. So I've got so many of them now, but it is interesting because I'm going out of my way to say, here's what I need today. Like I'm feeling like pairing these two up. And I don't know, it's just like I think it's more evolved, and I don't want to shit on those guys, but that 4 LED one, like I can't see a version of the story where I would ever have gotten that far down into that story.
Yeah.
No.
There's a lot to say, but I think I may have met maybe Tom and I in another conversation. But the short story of my evolution with the stuff, because it's a little bit weird because I make it. It's like, it's hard, there's always that, like, would you please just go away and let me do this? But anyway, aside from that, it's in three kind of steps for me. One is, a lot years of the stimulation quality and what is happening, and wow, and a lot of wowness in it, or like cool or awesome or woo, that thing, which is beautiful. Then at a certain stage, something odd began to happen where I began to sense, I don't know what to call it, but I'll call it communication. It's as though I was getting some information, not just stimulation. That there was there was some kind of like meaningness to it. It's like I was not just getting off on it. It's as though I was getting a lesson or learning or communicating. There was something that stimulation started to become information. And it's really hard. I mean, we're struggling with a lot of like analogies.
I mean, all I could think of is like you're designing Neurovisor in the Akash. That's all I'm thinking in my brain right now.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, no, but I think honestly, and I told you, I think offline, I had an amazing experience that one time, and I definitely gleaned information from it and practical stuff. And it's interesting to see that, and almost like I would like to ask you, how do I keep doing that? Right. But like, I don't think you get it every time you want,
Yeah. Okay, let me go a little bit fatter on the middle.
All right, and guys, I hate to say this, but speaking of hormesis, I'm gonna have to go cause some hormesis in a bunch of patients in like 5 minutes.
Okay, okay. Let me finish my awesome
go ahead.
story then.
Go ahead, please.
The communication thing. The truth is that as I was in the earlier stages of developing, I have like, how do this? I don't know this. And I would get insightful solutions to my problems while I was doing the session. It's as though it's kind of like, mushrooms or something like that. That not that I've ever done any. That that there was, the process was instructing itself. That I would. So, okay, there's that. So stimulation, then some phase of communication where there's some kind of like information. It isn't just fireworks in the sky. It's writing something in the sky analogy. Then the thing most recently, which is really delightful, is, again, I'm trying to find words. The stimulation becoming communication, becoming revelation. Where I'm seeing things, getting things that it's not like I'm making them, it's showing me what's already there.
Right.
Revelation. And that's really a beautiful feeling for me, or feeling or experience. So, and I think it's kind of like it washes back and forth, but because I've been ringing this bell for a decade now, like what's it like if you did it for not a year? What's it like if you did it for 10 years?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to figuring that out.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Anyway, so stimulation, communication, revelation is one perspective that to me makes sense because, as you guys know, I'm quite conservative. I practice spiritual meditative traditions in the classic sense, and it's like, oh, cool. There is only one thing happening. So
yeah. Garnet, I know Tom's got to run, and I could talk to you about this for a month.
Man,
So, I mean, yeah,
the phone all
Yeah.
day.
but once again, really, really appreciate you taking time to talk to us. This is literally an endlessly fascinating topic for me, just because it
me
is
too.
so. Yeah, I mean, it never ends, right? Ever. Just real quick on the way out the door, commercial for you, like is neurovisor.com. I mean, where do we send people? Where do you want to,
Well, neurovisor.com. If you guys wanted, because you did one before, if you wanted to do a little like, hey, this is what Rouge is like for us, that's you guys.
I love it. Yeah, we'll definitely.
We'll definitely do that, and
That's an easy
we'll that's an easy ask. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Cool.
Love you,
Garnet,
brothers.
thank you, man. Appreciate you so much.
Yeah, Garnet,
Have a
thank
good
you for
day.
making the time, even across the world.
No. Listen, I'm a sucker for you guys, so don't take advantage of me.
Well, we'll keep the monkey photos coming, please. We love those.
Okay. Yeah. Well, those are my emoji. I mean, welcome to my world. Maybe that's what happens after 10 years. Get ready. But
Yeah, get ready.
okay. It is nighttime here. Tomorrow, first thing in the morning, my extraordinary assistant, will send off video link transcript keynotes.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Garnet, man.
All right, Garnet, thank you. Have a great day.
Take care, buddy.
We'll talk soon, man.
Tom, go stick it to him, would you?
We'll try. Let's
We
get
are
the puns
filled
in.
with them today.
Okay. Adios, bud.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Be subversive, irreverent.
Health is wealth, but you knew that.
Everybody knows that.
But so is following us on social media at Irreverent Health. And check out our website for more exclusive content at irreverenthealth.com.
Oh, I like this.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Irreverent Health.